Chris, scale of 1 to 10, and be honest here. How concerned should we be?
I'm waffling between a 9 and a 10.
Whew.
All right. And that's not to say that Team USA can't win the gold. You know, they got Kevin Durant, Damian Lillard, Bradley Beal, Jason Tatum. They may just win it on those guys' talent alone. That said, they should be very concerned because we all know they wanted to come out and make a statement against Australia. They had just lost to Nigeria, a team that a few years ago they beat by 80-something points, and they wanted to come out and make a statement, and instead they lost for the 4th time in their last 5 international games. That dates back to 2019 when we lost in the World Games. We finished 7th in the World Games. Now, we didn't have KD and Dame Lillard, but Jason Tatum and several other, Kemba Walker, and other NBA players were there, and we finished 7th. So this is a concern. I think there's a few issues. One, this roster is poorly constructed. There's not a rim protector or shot blocker on the roster. And you saw that last night when Australia just had its way in the paint. Cuts, dives, backdoor cuts. They were at the rim all night. They scored 44 points in the paint. Remember, it's just a 40-minute game. All right, and then look at the roster. The only player on the team who naturally makes plays for others is Draymond Green. Other Damian Lillard, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, Jason Tatum, the other stars are all score-first guys. They can pass, but Draymond's the only one with that real instinct to get others involved and share the basketball. So the roster's poorly constructed. We keep hearing about the continuity and the chemistry, right? Oh, these other teams have been playing together since they were 14, 15 years old. They got a huge advantage. I won't totally eliminate that possibility because I think it is a factor. But it's a factor that's often overstated. And here's why. Look at Nigeria. Shoot, a lot of their dudes grew up in America. Ekpe Udo is from Oklahoma. Gabe Vincent is from California. Precious Akua is from New York City. A lot of these dudes are from America. They haven't been playing together since they were kids. Australia, okay, to some degree, but they also have 7 new players, and they've had 2 or 3 different coaches in the last 3 years. What it boils down largely to is this. I think this is an indictment on the way our American players grow up playing from AAU all the way into the NBA. And that is, and I've talked to people around the league about this and former players from, a generation ago. Our players grow up playing 2-man or 1-man basketball. High pick and roll or drive and kick. That's it. Our best players don't know how to move without the basketball. They don't set screens away from the ball. They don't do backdoor cuts for the most part. And if you look at that tape we showed before I came on and Jen was speaking and you saw the highlights, every single one of them, it was just dudes standing around the three-point line. Look at this. Is there any movement?
No.
No movement without the ball whatsoever. And so our default in a tough game is to go one-on-one.
Yep.
Or maybe give me a pick and I'll go one, Whereas Australia, when they come together, it's going to be true for a lot of the European countries, when they come together, they grow up playing 5-man team basketball. So last night, we weren't in the same stratosphere as far as execution as Australia. They had guys naturally backdoor cutting, moving without the ball, and they picked us apart. And generally speaking, a talented group that plays 5-man ball is often going to beat a more talented group that plays a lot of one-on-one or two-man basketball. Doesn't happen all the time, but often that's the case. So that's the challenge we're going to be facing in this international play.
Well, I told Skip the same thing. I gave him an 8. I'm very concerned because I don't believe the team was put together correctly. Because you look at it, this says we want shooting. Well, you got no rim protecting. You got no rebounding. You got out rebounded by 10 or 12 by Nigeria. You got out rebounded last night by 7 by Australia. And you're talking about you want to focus on shooting, but you're getting outshot. And I think the thing is, Skip and Chris, is that you look at these teams, they don't have one player that's better than Kevin Durant. They don't have one player that's a Dame Lillard. And in America, we grow up, if you're the best player, they don't play a whole lot of team ball. We're going to give you the ball. We're going to set picks for you. We're going to get out of your way. Well, that's not how they play. They got to play team basketball. They got to move the ball because they don't have a Kevin Durant. They don't have a Dame Lillard. They don't have a top 5 player normally on. Now, if Luka's a different animal. Giannis, if he plays for the Greek, I don't think Giannis is playing with the Greek team, but that's a different animal. But for the most part, they have to play this style of ball because they don't have one guy that can just take the game over. And when you look at it, they got no perimeter defenders. We've always had, you go back to 92, you had David Robinson, you had Patrick Ewing. You've had Shaq, you've had Elijah Wan, you've had Dwight Howard, you've had Tyson Chandler. You've always had guys that can protect the rim, but you've also had guys that were unselfish, saying, you know what, I can score. Yeah, I can score. But everybody can't go get 25 in an Olympic game. Okay, I'm going to D up. Scotty and Mike says, okay, we play D. Kobe says, I'll play D. D-Wade said, I'll lock in. LeBron says, I ain't giving up nothing cheap. Right now, we got a bunch of guys that just want to score. Nobody wants to play defense. They got us scoring the paint, Skip. 44-24 last night, Australia. Australia are not their perimeter guys. Oh, they got Joe Ingles are not trying to get grimy. Patty Mills not trying to get grimy. None of these guys are like low post players. And they guys outscored the American team by 20 in the paint. If they had Giannis, if they had Jokic, I said, okay, you
remember, that's a lot of backdoor cuts for layups.
That's my point.
Okay.
And when you got guys that don't play defense and not used to being like that, Skip, they looking around and lay the ball up in the basket. We're going to talk about Coach Pop getting upset. But, Skip, I'm concerned because these teams are no longer in awe. Skip, ain't nobody trying to get the Michael Jordan jersey. Ain't nobody trying to get no autograph and get a picture taken with Charles Barkley and the Dream Team. They're trying to kick your butt. And so, yeah, guess what? And they see you in the game. Man, we beat y'all butt. Y'all remember we beat y'all butt in the Olympics? Where your gold medal at? Because that's what I'd be doing if I played on a foreign team and we beat the Americans and we got the gold. Oh, Chris, you couldn't tell me. You couldn't hit me in the butt with a red apple. Hey, where your medal at? Let me see it.
So, my friend Chris Broussard says the sky is falling on Team USA. And my friend across the table says the sky is falling.
I said it's raining.
Oh,
it's raining. It ain't falling. It's raining, though.
Okay. It's
Heavy
raining.
rain.
And I say the sky is blue, as in red, white, and still blue.
Okay.
My concern level is at a 2, TWO 2, near the bottom of the scale, because my team, Team USA, still has Kevin bleepin' Durant.
They had
He's
him last 2 games.
Best player on the planet. Obviously, he is coming out of what was an accelerated, escalated NBA season unlike any we have ever seen, and he had to play 1-on-5 against the Milwaukee Bucks.
Stop.
And it went to the bitter end, and if his toe hadn't been 1/10 of an inch over the line, he'd still be playing in the finals and probably dominating the finals.
Probably not.
Okay, but the point is, they haven't geared back up just yet. And it is a new team that got thrown together, and Australia is a tough matchup for them this early in the exhibition run-up to the real games. Because, and by the way, Australia doesn't even have Ben Simmons right now. We're going to talk about Ben Simmons in a few minutes here because Shams is reporting that that trade is heating up onto the front burner in Philadelphia and that there is robust interest out there for Ben Simmons. We'll talk about that. But he wasn't even on this team, and it still has 6 NBA players. And they have played a lot of international basketball together because a lot of them, Delly and Patty and Aaron Baines and Ingles, they came up together. And so they can just step on the floor and click because they get each other, they feel each other, and they do play a different brand of basketball. And that, from what I saw, that Jock Landale, he went to St. Mary's, he's 6'11", and he was the player of the year in the WCC when he was at St. Mary's, and then he was just the MVP of their finals of the Australian League, so he can play. And he was dominant. He had 7 rebounds last night, which led both teams. So I get you about rim protection, but Kevin Durant can protect the rim when he decides to. Bam can definitely protect the rim when he decides to, when he needs to. When push comes to literal shove in the Olympic Games, I believe they can protect the rim well enough because they can shoot the lights out. They haven't yet, although I thought Kevin and Dame, if you can go 10 or 20 between you, shouldn't that be good enough to win a game? You would think so.
Yeah, not when the others go 3 or 16 between them.
That's the problem. And again, I just don't think they've committed yet because to me, rebounding is mostly about want to.
Right.
It's just, do you want it? Do you want the ball worse than they want the ball? And last night, Joe Ingles said after the game, we walked in tonight thinking we would win this game. Well, it meant a lot more to them.
Well, I wish he'd have walked into the Clippers game thinking they were going to win that game.
Because you lost a bunch of cases.
Yeah, you hear how he talking all big and bad. Now, Chris, talking about we walked in it. But also, I think, Chris, before you go, is that if you look at the way they play international ball, they physical. They play like 80s and 90s style. They don't let you do that flopping. I see the Americans looking around and man, that's a foul. And the referee like, you better play on. You better get back on defense because they gone. We ain't calling the foul.
Okay. Got it. They'll figure this out. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, don't you think you said it meant more to Australia than us?
Last
You
night.
don't think Team USA, after being embarrassed by Nigeria, was like, oh, look, let's come back and set the world in order.
Yes.
Let's show everybody that was just some fluke, and they couldn't do it.
Couldn't.
Okay, Chris, what if they weren't really embarrassed by Nigeria? What happened?
Well, that's even more of a problem.
Then shame on them.
Yes.
How could they not be?
Did that count toward gold? No.
I mean, Byron Scott called it the worst upset in the history of basketball. Okay. I mean, that was embarrassing. They should be embarrassed. Look, I'm not saying they can't win it. Like I said, they got all the talent. You know, they got Kevin Durant. But, Skip, let's not act like just having Kevin Durant means you're going to win.
So are you, two both
obviously they got some other great
insinuating
players too.
that if LeBron James were part of this team, this wouldn't be happening?
Nah, if we had LeBron and Kawhi, if we had Kawhi to lock down on the edge, you know, Kawhi locked the thing down on the edge.
Yeah.
Let me tell you how concerned Greg Popovich was. Who was one of the speakers that he brought in? One Doug Collins, who was on that 72 team that lost to the Soviets, that they refused to accept the medals. So if it didn't mean anything to him, why are you bringing in a guy that's lost? Why would you bring him in to speak if you're not concerned about losing? If you think everything peachy cream, because I can assure you, Chuck Daly ain't bring no speakers in, did he? I'm just saying.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, Shannon, because I was thinking after they lost to Nigeria, and a lot of people were making the comparison to the Dream Team, right? When they lost to the college kids, it was good for them, and then they blew them out the rest of the week when they scrimmaged. I thought that's what this was.
Yes.
But apparently it wasn't. You know? And so we just, look, you saw them. We need to play more team-oriented basketball. But you mentioned it, Shannon. We got a lot of stars on that team. Who wants to do the dirty work? Even Jeremy Grant, that should be his role. Do the dirty work. But he was in Detroit last year throwing up 22 a game. So like he kind of like, yo, I can do my thing too now. So I don't know if he still wants to do
Chris,
the dirty work.
Bottom line, are you ready to guarantee that Team USA does not win gold?
No.
Thank you.
No.
Next question.
I can't write them off.
Right.
But I'm not willing to guarantee they will. Are you willing to guarantee that they will?
Yes, I'm willing to bet Shannon
earlier.
5 cases. I already bet him, but he won't take it.
No, I ain't betting.
He's afraid.
I'm not betting against the Americans.
Can't bet against Team USA. I understand that. I respect that. Maybe you can get
excuse.
Chris to join in on this in the fun. Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.